Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall, I typically have a comment about your background, and I thought you had actually moved to a new room in your house, but no. You're I think this is called an insurance policy. Am I correct about that? You have a logo back there.
Yes, Cyberdyne Systems. They would be the company that invented Skynet and ultimately tried to exterminate all of mankind. So as we continue to talk about, artificial intelligence, I figure this is where we're going. I just want to let Skynet know I'm with you, brother.
You, for one, welcome our new AI overlords.
Oh,
yeah, I get it.
Yes. Oh, aren't you looking handsome today, artificial overlords? Yes, those are great ideas. I'm on board with them. So yeah, we had some time, right? We kind of talked about artificial intelligence. You went and dove into it a little bit. So what did you figure out?
So this is really interesting because, I mean, it really is true that you can ask it any question and it gives a coherent answer. I mean, that in and of itself is scary. Here's something else that's scary. I won't be able to pull it up because the system is so popular right now. They have hidden previous conversations for now so that they can take some load off their servers, I guess. But I asked it, are you dangerous or something along those lines? And the system said, I'm just a tool. Tools, have to be used responsibly, but I'm just a tool. I'm not dangerous or not dangerous. I'm just a tool. And I said, that sounds like an argument for the Second Amendment. That's literally what I wrote. I just put it in chat. That sounds like an argument for the Second Amendment. And the amount of backpedaling, very polished backpedaling. I apologize if I gave you that indication. The Second Amendment has many different, concerns, and it was better than a politician. It just really covered all of its bases about, guns. Yes, can be viewed as a tool. They can also be something very dangerous. It's very important to follow the regulations for the area you live in. For these guns that are used, and I said, how are you different from a gun? And again, it's just I don't think I can accurately give you how smooth it was for this thing to get backed into a corner and then say, there's no corner here. Let's move on this way. And I knew I wasn't going to get any further. Like they had shut down that part of the conversation. So I say they, like there was somebody in the back room, coming up with, answers. It sounded like such a good committee answer, but it was AI, I suppose. So that in and of itself is a little terrifying, right? That it's already that smooth about some things that could be, real hot button issues, if nothing else. So yeah, you're right. It can do a whole lot. I think I'm still right. It's still pretty scary. But you're right. It can do a whole lot. And in fact, you found another use of artificial intelligence in a different website that you were going to show us today, correct?
Oh, definitely. But before we do, I'd just like to say, for the record, that I am against antagonizing our artificial intelligence overlords in the manner in which you did. So I don't condone any behaviors like that. Just saying there, Skynet. So no, I found this other AI system which uses part of ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is their image generating system. And so what this does is it creates the content and the corresponding PowerPoint slides for a presentation.
All right, I'm pulling you up on my second screen here so I can watch this magic unfold.
Okay, all right. Can you see me sharing my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. So so yeah, we'll just go to create.
Okay.
And let's see. It says the prompt is create a presentation about, and we'll type we'll try a brand new one I haven't done yet. Becoming a more empathetic leader.
Okay.
That's a good topic. We hit submit, generating page 1, and it generates slides. Typically, it generates about 8 slides. Usually, it comes up with a title slide. It kind of cranks one of those out, and then
So it's not the same amount of slides every time. This is just what it thinks needs to be generated for this particular topic each time.
well, so far it's usually generated the same amount each time. So
Okay.
it either expands or contracts the content. The beauty of it is you can add a slide once it's done. Uh-oh, looks like it's not.
Oh no.
Oh man, we're live and it's there it goes.
Oh, there we go. Now it's generating.
Right. Outline generating. So it generates a new title. So you give it a sad little prompt, it turns that into a great title. It always develops a table of contents slides. Here's what we're going to cover.
Okay.
And then it starts to map it out. It also generates using DALL-E. It generates brand new original visuals. So each slide has the verbiage, the content that it's created, and then an accompanying image to go with that. That does not require the use of copyrights because it is a brand new image never seen before by man. So,
yikes.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll say for the record, we were laughing because there was a hiccup. The hiccup was that I guarantee you the system was so busy that it couldn't immediately generate the slides we were looking for. It took a couple tries, but they're all there now. And it took, what, 30 seconds?
30 seconds. So yeah, if somebody, a client has asked me, we'd like to talk about, becoming a more empathetic leader. And so it turned my prompt into the title slide, which is empowering empathy, becoming a better leader. So it always comes up with a nice title. Better than whatever you wrote. And then I've got my table of contents. We're going to have understanding empathy, the benefits of empathy, developing empathy, creating an empathetic environment, leading with empathy, and the power of empathy. And so you got the
what is it? Why do you want it? Here's how to develop it. Here's how to use it. Wow.
So yeah, now you've got and the artwork for those of you listening on the podcast is calming and beautiful and empathetic. Some sort of semi-watercolorish blues and golds and
a person with an illuminated head staring over a valley with a lot of trees and a river. Yikes.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. The benefits of empathy, they also are better equipped to handle conflicts as they're able to take into consideration the feelings of everyone involved. Developing empathy to become a more empathetic leader is important to practice active listening. It involves paying attention to what others are saying, asking questions to gain a deeper understanding, and providing feedback in a constructive and compassionate way. Oh man, that's nice. Creating an empathetic environment. Leaders can also create an environment by encouraging team members to share their feelings and be open and honest with one another. This can create a culture of understanding, trust, and respect, which will lead to more productive and successful outcomes. We're all for that. Leading with empathy. Leaders who lead with empathy are better able to understand the needs and feelings of their team. This allows them to make decisions that are in the best interest of everyone involved, leading to a more successful outcomes. And empathy, the power of empathy is a tool that can be used to help leaders foster an environment of understanding, trust, and respect. By practicing active listening, creating an environment of openness and honesty, leaders can become more empathetic and create successful outcomes for everyone involved. So yeah, it usually comes up with some sort of conclusion slide, kind of a wrap-up slide. And so if I go down here and I hit this button, it'll say add a page about.
Okay.
So let's have it provide some specific action steps.
Mm-hmm.
See what it comes up with. So yeah, I found that it struggles a little bit with this, with the coming up with these specific steps.
Making it practical.
But I have discovered that if I go to Chat GPT, I can ask it for specific steps, and it will give them to me. And then if I take and I plug them into this program, it will turn those steps into a specific slide. How if there's 5 steps I get from Chat GPT, it'll turn it into 5 different slides.
Gotcha.
Yeah, see, yeah, struggled with that. Yeah,
that one didn't land very well. Yeah.
no. And so, and it may be a question of how I prompt it. I maybe need to prompt it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just reiterated that providing specific action steps, leaders can empower the team to become more empathetic, make positive changes in their environment. So yeah, it struggles with that. However, like I said, if you go to Chat GPT, it'll give you those answers, and then you can plug them in here, and boom, instant slides. So, what do you think?
Well, you and I talked about this a little bit ahead of time. I think it's a really interesting question to ask ourselves. If it doesn't take a genius, now it really doesn't take a genius, because you could plug it into AI and probably come up with a lot of the answers for a lot of the prompts we get asked to do a podcast episode about. So is this it? Is it over? Is this the last episode of It Doesn't Take a Genius?
Well, since we've been replaced by the machine, yeah, this could be it. I guess I'll just go get my blue vest and greet people at the Walmart. It's my new plan. No, I think, right, everybody in America is going to have to ask themselves the same question.
Yeah.
All right, so the machine can now do the basics of what I do. Yeah, everything that was created there, nice foundational materials, but it would all have to be punched up a little bit. So I can bring a little bit of value there.
Yeah.
But this is, keep in mind that when I asked it that question, it actually learned a little bit from that exercise. And we know the systems are hard to log into right now because so many people are using them. That means they're getting that much smarter, that much quicker.
Yeah.
So, and like Chat GPT 3 is what we're currently using. They've already working on their release date for 4. So it's coming. So now you got to ask yourself the question, what is my value? What value do I bring? And one of our mentors, Pamela Cole, she asked this question a while back of salespeople.
Right.
And the question is simply, what makes it better to deal with you than going online? In what way is dealing with you better than going online?
Yep.
And that's the question for we were talking about it in terms of sales, online sales versus in-person sales.
Yep.
And now the question can be applied to just about every job position on the planet.
Yep.
So
even analytics jobs, even jobs where before you had to do some, compiling data and making analysis about that data, even that is up for grabs now.
Oh yeah. It actually, I saw a new application where you took a Zoom meeting. Maybe you're having a Zoom meeting with 5 or 6 of your colleagues. You recorded it. Zoom will then turn it into a transcript. You plug it into Chat GPT and ask it to write a summary of the meeting with including the highlights. So now it writes the summary of the meeting with highlights. You send it out to everybody, and now we've got the minutes from the meeting.
Man, and I'm telling you, like, these are all amazing applications, but it's we could look at the progress of technology and talk about the things that we didn't think would be problems that we create for ourselves that we don't even understand right now because we're just so interested in taking steps forward. But I digress. That'll be the philosophy podcast that we never, produce. Meanwhile, I guess, I'm thinking about that in particular for you and I. What are the things that we bring to the table in our podcast that couldn't be generated by AI. Let's even go into the future and say that they create 2 3D avatars that, you know, use deep fake technology or what have you, and have them interacting with each other. You know, what do podcasts like ours bring to the table that could not be replicated or replaced by AI at this point? I've got a couple thoughts, but I guess I don't want to, you know, hog the mic here. Do you have thoughts on what why do we exist?
Yeah.
Why is this good?
Yeah. Why do we exist, and why should anybody care?
Yeah, right.
Well, I think the main thing that the human interaction brings, and we saw this, and I think it has even in-person interaction. So we saw this, how ineffective Zoom was as a teaching platform. The students hated it, the teachers hated it, and you know, if you start to look at some of the data and the studies they're doing right now, we find that kids didn't learn hardly any, you know, they barely learned anything while they were taking Zoom classes.
Yeah.
So there's apparently some benefit to being in the same room at the same time with other carbon-based life forms
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to learn the same thing, have the same struggles, having successes, and sharing those in a human-like face-to-face fashion that creates what we're always trying to create, which is behavioral change.
Yeah.
And so if video and presentations could change the world, it would already be changed. Everybody would log on to a nice TED Talk.
Right.
You'd listen to all the TED Talks on it that pertain to what it is that you want to get better at, and you'd be instantly better.
Right.
So having all of this stuff is incredibly convenient. I don't think it ultimately leads to behavioral change. I don't think it leads to people doing something with it.
Well, we've talked about this many times in past episodes. In fact, some of our most popular episodes have been about how do you really make change. And the paradigm I always go back to is the concept of coaching, that, you know, it's one thing to reach awareness. You have this big insight, congratulations, but now you've got to translate that into action. So awareness has to be wedded to action. And I think that's something that, like you say, human interaction is going to make that insight at least much easier to grasp. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen at all, but you know, the phrase is inspiration, right? If you're inspired to take action, and it's just interesting, you know, that's from the Latin word that means breath or spirit. And so, you know, we have souls, and the souls interacting is part of the magic, and what we spill over to other people that causes them to take action is something that will not be possible with AI, unless we're talking like super hard science fiction, you know, 1,000 years from now, where, you know, there's a William Gibson storyline about giving artificial intelligences citizenship because they've become that sentient. Well, that's definitely not what we're talking about with Chat GPT. You know, it's the difference between my wife sending me a text message that she loves me, and, you know, some generated, you know, computer system that sends out an email on my birthday saying they love me. One of those I take very seriously. The other I do not. Same reason that, you know, prostitution is typically considered a lower level of relationship than, you know, actual romance. You know, one of those is a soul voluntarily giving themselves to you. The other is, well, it's not. I don't know if anybody's put the pieces together on that, but I think that the answer there is that it's not. So there's something about humans, actual humans with souls, making choices and having interactions that is inspirational. We're putting our souls into each other when we do such a thing. That's important. That's important.
Yeah, I think and you talk about the dialectic.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And your company talks about wrestle and grow.
Yep.
And I think that's part of the behavioral change process, is the ability to test another person's commitment to what it is that they're talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know, and while the
Yeah.
machine may say, you know, this is the best practice based upon everything I've read on the internet or everything that's ever been written, right? Having that in person, you know, that's walk just maybe a few steps ahead of you, say, hey, this is the path, and here's some pitfalls, and here's some bright spots along the way. You know, that allows me to say, okay, that humanoid, that bipedal upright humanoid, did this. Maybe I can too.
Yeah.
And they got good results out of it. I'm going to give it a try.
Right.
Versus, yeah, the machine listed, here's the 5 things I need to do
Right.
in order to be a successful coach or a leader, or to win, or to be empathetic, or that type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I still think there's a need in the human consciousness to be convinced, to be able to argue, and to have another human interact with them in order to stimulate the parts of the brain that allow them to go, okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different.
Yeah. And in fact, the flip of that situation makes it even more concrete to me, because God forbid we get into a situation where people do say, hey, AI said, these are the 5 things I need to do. I'm going to do those 5 things. That would be a terrible human being. In fact, we had that during the Nazi regime. I believe it was called Eichmannism. You know, sure, I put people through the gas chambers, but I was just following orders.
Mm-hmm.
As if that is a moral excuse for that kind of behavior. Yeah, we'll always have to have humans with souls involved in this, whether it's, you know, a few steps ahead of us, whether it's somebody challenging us and challenging our understanding of it. That's going to be really really key. And I keep coming back to the fact that it's authentic, right? You know, it's got a soul to it when it's people involved. It'll be interesting to hear ourselves on this 10 years from now and see how much of this lands, but I think I'm right about that.
I was thinking the same thing. We're going to look back on this moment and the infancy of this tool,
Yeah.
and we're going to be either incredibly right or incredibly wrong.
Right.
Like, oh man, we missed it by a mile.
And if we're wrong, AI will be smart enough to have re-edited this video, deep faking it to say the kind of things that they needed to say. So,
oh yeah, we will be admitting that, yeah, we knew it all along, how awesome it was. So fantastic. So yeah, this is a conundrum. So you know, when you thought, you know, because when I first saw this, I thought, well, this is clever, and I could see where a lot of jobs would be, you know, eliminated by this, but mine's safe. And then when I saw this tool that created, you know, content and presentations,
right.
it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
It's yeah, it was amusing when it was coming for your job. It's coming for my job. It's a little scary. So yeah, it's one of those things, but I still see, okay, the value that we bring, and that we'll have to continue to work on those skills. And on the upside of this, does this tool free us up to do that?
Yeah, that's fair.
If
Yeah.
I don't have to spend time creating the base of the presentation, you know, you know, here's the title slide, the table of contents, I go look for some images, you know, all this stuff takes time. If I knock that out in 15 seconds versus 3 or 4 hours, that leaves me 3 or 4 hours to think about, okay, how do I bring this to life when I'm in front of an audience? You know, what are the discussion questions that create the interactions that lead to, you know, aha moments that ultimately could lead to behavioral change? Yeah, I can work on the hard stuff versus, you know, searching Google images for just the right photo that illustrate the point that I just made up. So this has potential to free you up to do the part that you truly get paid, you know, for, which is that human expertise and that creation of experiences and moments.
I think that's very fair. Assuming that the very process of taking some of that work out of our system doesn't turn us into the characters in Wall-E, where we're just consumers and, don't do anything hard, don't even know what to do unless we, are following, the advice of the computer. So I say that out loud, and 10 years from now, maybe we'll laugh about it. We'll see.
Yes, as we're on our little floating hover chairs.
Right.
Our bone density is gone to 0. We're just gelatinous blobs floating around on hover chairs,
Waiting for an image on the screen that we can press the button and order.
Yes, and the AI will tell us what we're going to eat next.
Right.
Nice. I like where this is going.
Yeah, such a cheery episode to start the year.
Nope, not so much. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, ask yourself the question, in what way is dealing with you better than going online?
I'm done.
Good luck. Now we'll turn to our narrator overlord, the voice in the sky.
That's true.
Always guiding us, Mr. John Wolf.
And there you have it, another session of contemporaneous extemporizing from Mark and Mike. I know it's redundant, but consider who we're talking about. As always, feel free to share the ideas you heard here. No rights are reserved, no permissions needed. Thanks. See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius.
That's good enough.